decided to make a cheesecake today, and it's gluten-free, but not dairy-free, because it's a cheesecake. The answer's in the name. It is possible, I'm sure, to make a dairy-free cheesecake, but I'm not going to. So this is gluten-free and vegetarian, if you're the sort of vegetarian that eats dairy, which many are. If you're not a vegan, if you're a vegan, you're out of luck, I'm afraid. You can adapt it. As with everything, I've certainly adapted this. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Last week, I made this for the first time, and I used some mascarpone cheese, which is lovely and creamy, but quite full of calories. Today, I'm using ricotta. You can also use, be careful, because it's got like whey in it, and that probably could have been mixed up in with it. Now it's on the floor. Forget about that. So, ricotta, you can also use any sort of cream cheese that you want. Any sort. The sort that you spread, the sort that is mass-produced widely. You can use it full fat or half fat or medium fat or anything you want, really, depending on you. There's many ways of making cheesecake. This is mine. For the one I'm going to make, I've got a packet of gluten-free digestives, which aren't quite as good as not gluten-free digestives, but, you know, you have to get what you get. A lemon. It's a lemon cheesecake. An egg. A carton of sour cream. I didn't use sour cream the last time I made it. I just put some squirty cream and some more lemon. But, you know, some vanilla essence, some sultanas, optional. A pan lined with foil, or you can line it with greaseproof paper if it's got a bottom that comes out. This has, but I didn't want to risk it. And some butter, some sugar, and some cornflour made from maize. If you put these biscuits in a bag and then use a rolling pin to crush them up, that's a good way of crushing them up. I could demonstrate, but I don't have a bag. So what I'll probably do, instead of crushing them up in a bag, which is the practical way, which you should use, which you'll have to use your imagination to imagine how it would be, I'm just going to smash them like this. That's not going to work. What shall I do? How shall I do this? So I put them on some parchment paper and put some more parchment paper on top so it doesn't get too messy. And then I'm going to smash. I think a bag would be better. I'm just going to get on with this. It's difficult with a camera in my hand. I'm going to melt this in the microwave, but you can obviously use a pan. And mix in the butter. Maybe not enough butter. Then just stick that down with the back of a spoon until it's nice and solidly in there. And put it in the fridge when it's nice and flat for about an hour, or until you feel like taking it out again. Things that you discover while you're in the middle of it is it's much easier to use a metal spoon than a wooden spoon to stick it down. Juice most of a lemon, but set aside a couple of slices for a decoration, if you want. That's optional. I'm just going to juice most of it. I don't have a juicer, so I'm just going to do that. Make sure you pick out all the seeds. Oh, there's quite a few of them. So, mix the lemon juice with some sultanas. That many. Don't know how much that is. Didn't measure it. It's not important. Have about a capful or a teaspoonful of vanilla essence. 1 egg. The original recipe that I saw said 2 eggs, but I only had 1 egg, so I only used 1 egg. The cream cheese. Now this is ricotta, so it's slightly lower in fat than some of the ones. Mascarpone, quite high. Other cream cheeses, any description. Not sure how this is going to work out really, seeing as I used this. Sour cream, that much. You can use a bit, leave a bit for some other reason. Have some Mexican food. And about 2 teaspoons of cornflour. Now I am going to use an electric mixer to mix this up. Hey, if you don't have an electric mixer, then just use another mixer. I'm sure if you've got a manual one, or just beat it up really, really hard with a spoon, that might work as well. I'm going to put 3 tablespoons of sugar in. I think the recipe said like 2 or 3 ounces, but I didn't use that many and it was already too sweet, so I think 2 tablespoons is more than enough for this dessert. So 1 tablespoon of sugar, and yeah, don't need a full tablespoon. Put a bit back. And make sure that is in. Whoops, turn it on. Start slowly. Put this in the oven at about 180. I'll put the conversion on a little thing. 180, depending on your oven, for about 20 minutes. Take it out, stick the lemon, if you stuck the lemon to the side, stick it on the top in a pretty pattern, and then do it for another 10 minutes. It might vary depending on your oven, or depending on what sort of cheese you use, or depending on the way the wind blows that day, probably. So I'm going to put this in now and hope for the best. It's very liquidy. So I put the lemon on top. I'm probably going to give that another 20 minutes, in fact, because it's not really near setting. And also it's got lots of bubbles on the top. Yours might not have the bubbles. So when that's done, leave it in the oven for another 2 hours with the oven off, obviously, and the door slightly ajar so that it can cool down and set. Of course I would say that, because I'm not going to say yuck, but genuinely, that's pretty good.